testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try to become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. I'm Skip.
And I'm Carlos.
How are you doing this week, Carlos?
I'm doing all right. I just ended my shift rotation at work, and it was pretty chill, actually. Nothing too serious. So yeah, I'm just kind of reorganizing my brain back into a couple days off, and yeah, nothing special. What about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little tired today. A little rundown. I've been working out, and I also decided that I'm going to try and become vegetarian for a month.
No kidding.
And yeah, and so far it's being hungry a lot and being a little more tired. Because I just my body's always ran on meat. So I'm trying, and we'll see. If I can make it through a week, that'll be pretty good. If I can make it for the month, it will be a major achievement, and maybe I'll have shifted some things in my body so that it's not so hard.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you right before we were recording, you were snacking on rice, and white rice, you said?
Yeah.
I'm not in any way an expert. This is an extremely lazy observation, but from what I understand, white rice itself is just like sugar. So you'll spike up and then you'll just get tired again right away. So little things like that just took me a while to kind of catch on, because I really haven't done a ton of research on vegetarianism. I just kind of feel my body and see what I need. And Jody is the opposite. She'll drill down and look into things. So, and she does most of our cooking, as we discussed last episode.
Yeah.
But so she's kind of facilitated my vegetarianism in a big way.
That's nice.
Yeah, no, it's been really helpful. I mean, I would do it anyway, but I'd figure it out. But she's been a big help. But yeah, anyways, you didn't ask, but for me, it's been finding the right legume that just gives you tons of energy. For me, it was lentils really does it for me. And occasionally I'll throw in some other beans, but I get that bloat from beans, but lentils doesn't do that for me. I always feel like a rock star.
I have a hard time because I don't like beans.
Yeah.
So that makes it hard as a vegetarian.
So is it a consistency thing, or is it like a taste?
They're just kind of mushy. I just don't like them.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't like the texture and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have, when I was in survival school.
Survival school?
Yeah, survival school.
That's going to be a topic later.
All right. Yeah. It's kind of tied to this, but we ate mostly quinoa and lentils. And so I can kind of deal with lentils, although they're not my favorite. But I recall during 2 weeks, I never felt hungry and I never felt tired. So I've got a couple bags of quinoa, but I haven't made any yet. So it's just, you've got to find the ways to make quinoa taste good, because it's just sort of this bland cardboard flavor on its own.
But even with beans though, man, you can you don't need to have the bean. You can, or for example, with lentils, I'll say, which it technically is a bean, I guess, but if you get one of those Instapot, it's one of those pressure cookers, a lot of lentils will just be cooked into something that you'll never bite into. It'll just be a mush. You know what I mean? So
that doesn't sound good to me.
But if you add things, if you add potatoes to it or carrots or whatever, you can actually you'll get texture to it. But but no, I get it. You don't like gruel. Gruel isn't your bag.
No, Jess loves a good comforting gruel. In fact, we have a little song about it. It's just a Christmas ripoff, because we were traveling around and there was some place where she had some kind of gruel, and it's "and tidings of comforting gruel. But for me, that just doesn't sound. I mean, gruel is that's the punishment in Victorian novels for losing your parents or whatever. So I wanted to circle around back though. How is it being, when you go from a shift to being off shift? You said there's a reorganization of your brain, but you had talked previously about how people would be I could be on shift right now. I could, or even when you said it was pretty calm, is there something do you feel obviously it's good news for people if your shift is slow, but do you feel cheated or anything? Or is there like something that you're missing when you're not active in your job?
Yeah, man. Well, for me, it's like, it's complicated for me because for me, like I need the experience. Like I need some calls in order to feel more confident than I'm feeling right now. You know, the more experience you get, the better you are at your job, in any job. So yeah, when it's slow, I'm like, oh, this is sweet. Like this is like, I mean, I'll get bored or I'll bring a book or whatever, and I'm like, man, yeah, I'm glad that I'm getting paid, but I could be doing something else, like at home or with my own time. But so yeah, it's complicated because like on one hand, I'm like, well, thank God no one's dying or
Right.
no one needs help, and I'm getting to just chill and get paid. But on the other hand, I'm like, I could really use some experience. I could use some excitement even. Like
Mm-hmm.
it could be very useful. Like on my last shift, actually, a woman who was hired at the same time as me, she texted my partner, I just delivered a baby. I'm like, she just delivered a baby. And then like later on that night, I saw that she was on a call. I could see it through our work phones that she was on a call that was extreme. Like this person was
Mm-hmm.
probably dead or dying or
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
right there. And I'm like, man, she just dealt with like birth and she just dealt with life. So I had like this
Yeah.
pang of like envy, but also like relief because like, oh, thank goodness that wasn't me on that call because like if
Right.
I had to deliver a baby, like I could do it, but boy, that's a stressful situation. And then of course on the opposite side, it's somebody dying. It's like this person is actively dying
Yeah.
right now, and you're the only one standing between like death and life with this
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's stressful. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like I said, it's a love hate sort of thing, and I don't have a great answer, but I think as the job progresses and I'm have more experience, I think I'm gonna wish for calls
Yeah. Yeah.
more than not. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, like somebody just need an ambulance because I got to get out of the station. I want to circle back though.
Okay.
What is making you go vegetarian for a month?
I think partly you're my inspiration and
Okay,
the
I like it. I
influence
like
right
it.
now. I mean, I've always admired it, like just because I think it's a good thing to do ecologically, which is like my main driver. Is environmental impacts of meat are just like really pretty bad. So it's something that like our family eats almost only chicken because it's got like the lowest environmental impact as far as meats go. But I eat a lot of chicken. So, and I've done diets like when I was a wrestler and trying to lose weight, I'd do the egg diet in parentheses, which was something like my dad did when he was a wrestler back in the day, where it's like you're eating almost solely eggs. And I'm allowing myself to, be vegetarian, not vegan, so I can have eggs and stuff. So I know I can lean on eggs, but I've been trying to like not just eat eggs and like mix it
Right.
up and eat a lot of vegetables, but I do feel more hungry and more tired. And so I've got to feel my way through it and probably get some quinoa cooked and stuff. But yeah, it's mostly environmental, and Jess would be mostly meatless, I think, if she didn't live with three boys. And our older son was vegetarian for years, just of his own accord.
No kidding.
And yeah, he just decided that he didn't want to eat animals anymore because he loved animals too much. And then years later, he was like, I want to eat animals again. And yeah, our younger one was talking last night about how sad it was for chickens and about eggs and things. And I was like, all right. And I had already started on this, and I don't think he even knew that. It was just kind of like, I don't know. It just feels like a good thing to try and to see if I can. It's healthier for me as well. I think for people, because you're getting less of that animal fat, and animal fats and a lot of processed meat and stuff like that. It's real bad for you. So I'm trying to just do a solid for everything for a month. Another part of this, as I mentioned, was I was in survival school like way, way back before I did my walk across the US in 2009. So most of the time, most of that period, we were not eating much meat. But there was, at the beginning, basically what we did was 2.5 days where we didn't eat anything. And we were just hiking all day. And, people were like vomiting, and, you were going through stuff. I didn't. I was one of the people, and it seemed to be mostly bigger guys that probably had more to draw from,
Mm.
that didn't end up vomiting and getting sick and stuff like that. But I was one of those guys that didn't get sick, and I actually found that after a couple hours, the first couple hours, I just wasn't hungry. I was like, turned it off in my brain. I was like, we're not going to have food. And my brain was like, okay, then I won't bug you. So it was like 2.5 days we didn't eat. And then, we came into like a little, not quite a wiki up situation, but something like that, where we each got to have half a banana, because you've got to and this is one of the things as you're like watching the news with people in Gaza and stuff, like you can't just eat stuff. You can't just this, I'm sure, but for people listening, you can't just eat till you're full or eat stuff. It'll really mess up your body. So we each had like half a banana to just kind of gently start our digestive tract moving again. And the next day we had to kill a sheep. And, they kind of went through this whole thing and this reasoning, and they said, we're very removed from our food. We're very, we've got so many steps between where our food comes from and who we are. And if you eat meat, you should know this process, and you should know that this is an animal and what things go through, and just be more connected to your food. And if you're willing to eat meat, you should be willing to do this. And I thought that argument was pretty solid. So they asked for, volunteers, and there was there's half of us maybe that sort of were like, I'm willing to, but I don't, I don't really want to,
Yeah, right.
And then they drew straws, and it was this military guy. And we had several military guys that were really cool, but it was this lunkhead military guy that they gave us this, this is a sheep from a farm. They treat it as family. It's as well treated as you could possibly have it. We had a rabbi on the survival school course, and he said, this isn't technically kosher, but it's as close to it as possible. You treat the animal really well, blah, 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 blah. It's all done very empathetically, but we're taking we're taking a life, and we need to respect that. And they draw his thing, and he goes, yes, and does the fist
really?
bump. And we had a couple of vegetarians and things like that. And everybody was just, oh my God. In any case, the people running the school were, or the people that were running our group anyway, were real good. And they talked to this guy, and they were like, since you've hunted and killed things before, we're gonna give this opportunity to somebody else, basically as a way to take it away from him. So it ended up being between me and one or two other guys, and it ended up being me. And yeah, so I had to kill a sheep, and
With your bare hands, or
no, with a knife, yeah. And you just try and make it very quick and as little pain as possible. And we had a jug underneath the neck to catch the blood, because you can scramble the blood, eat it as eggs. And we processed the whole animal. We got the fur, we baked bread in its stomach,
wow.
and all kinds of stuff. But it was quite an experience, and I've always thought back to that, and not taking it for granted that this is just a block of sustenance. This was a creature, and I should be cognizant that it came from somewhere, and it was also transported to me, and there's people behind this, and and there's ecological costs with shipping and things like that, and plastic, and just all these things are things that I've tried to maintain some awareness of. And it's a damn good reason to be a vegetarian sometimes. Yeah, but we had some vegan and vegetarian people, and they were and I was worried that it was going to hurt my relationship with them, and they came up after, and one of them didn't know that it had switched to me from this other guy, and she was like, it was a miracle that you did this instead of this guy, because that was so terrible. So it ended up being in a weird way a good thing, but Yeah, it was quite an experience. I don't know if you've ever had to like I don't know if you've ever hunted or anything, but and I think there's probably a difference between like shooting an animal
For sure.
and slaughtering an animal with like your hands, and like everybody was petting it and holding it down and being, like tried to make it as comforting as possible. But yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing, and it's definitely something that stuck with me.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it would have. I have hunted and I have slaughtered and I have like killed like quote unquote pests as well.
Huh.
And I've the only one that I would say that I was okay with was when I was hunting as a kid. And that was
Yeah.
it's an interesting sort of I've never forgotten it because like I mean I hunted a few times, not that often. It was for rabbits. It wasn't even for like large game. But and I've like shot birds with my BB gun because I'm a little asshole when I was a kid. But
Yeah, I did that too. I felt
y
so shitty though.
yeah, I always felt bad about it, yeah. Because there's no reason. There's no reason to do that other than, like,
No.
shoot them out of the sky.
Yeah.
But, I remember hunting for rabbits, like, in the dark with a .22, and they're, like, hauling ass, and you gotta, like, track them with your rifle, and I wasn't using a scope ever, and, there's something really I thought about it as, like, from a spirituality perspective and how, like, you just dial in and it's like tunnel vision and the
Mhm.
focus. I've never been more focused in my life than when I'm holding a rifle aiming it at an animal with the intent to kill it. And yeah, it's really interesting. I find that to be a fascinating, like just biological aspect of us that we can it was necessary. If you're not, you're going to starve. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like
Mhm.
back in the day. So yeah, hunting when I was younger didn't bother me. But like slaughtering chickens, like was just the worst. In fact, when I would come to New Brunswick, we had I had intentions to raise like bunnies for meat.
Mhm.
And the moment I had to kill a chicken, I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to kill rabbits. I'm just not going to do
Yeah.
it. And then even killing the rats, which would terrorize the chicken coop. I know I've said this before. I'm sure I've said this before. It was always just a bad day because I had to drown them in like
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
little pond, and it was just the worst, man. Yeah, I don't like it. I've never liked killing anything, and I've always felt
Yeah.
bad afterward. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, yours was. I mean, I've never killed an animal that large before. It sounds like you had a pretty good like support group there to help you through it. But I think it's absolutely necessary to understand where your meat comes from, and I think that was a great practice. And it sounds like you learned a shitload from it too, like baking bread in the stomach. And I don't even know what I can't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah, it's weird because you turn like the stomach inside out and you wash it and
Uh-huh.
you put like dough on the inside, and then because it's like watertight, you boil the stomach and it cooks the bread inside. So that was
Uh,
yeah, it was a thing. Yeah, and making like sausage with, trying to with all the offal and dicing it up and trying to get it into the intestines and all that stuff and washing that out real good. And yeah, it was an experience for sure.
that's cool. I didn't know that. That's yeah, it sounds like a really good use. How many people were in the group?
I think our group was like 9, and then there was another group that went out at the same time. Yeah, and it was just a really great experience all around. That was like, I don't know, that was like day 4, and then we had like
Okay.
another 10 days. So we ate up, and then we had like some jerky to take with us, but we had, kind of done everything else. And then it was like lentils and quinoa and carrots and potatoes with like a little bit of bouillon, but you couldn't taste anything basically. It
Right.
was all
Yeah.
just real bland.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and you had to find your own water, and you're filtering the water with like bandanas and stuff like that. And yeah, I think the thing like I learned some minor survival skills, but I think the thing that I really took away from that, this was right before my walk, like I said, was just like not panicking will get you so far in any kind of emergency situation. Like just being like, this is going to be okay. Just need to take a moment, take a beat, figure out what I'm doing, and not panic. And like that really goes so far. Like, we're such resilient creatures, and there's oftentimes so much going on, but we're so good at also finding the thread of what's important that it's just like, okay, this, this is happening now, whatever it is. And, and like, I'm going to make it through this. What's the best way to do that? And just being real calm and methodical about things. I'm sure in the way that you have to do in your job, in like an actual real situation, not where you're just like paying money to go be starved in a forest somewhere.
Hey, can you please make this as uncomfortable as possible? Here's some money.
But and going through something like that and going through the stuff that you do at work, I'm sure it's like, it just makes you so much more calm and collected and confident in the rest of your life, because you're like, I'm capable. I can do shit. I can survive. I can get through things. And it just makes you, when you walk into novel situations or challenges, after you kind of really take in, oh, I've done some of these difficult things, like other shit just gets a lot less intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's nice.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was talking to Jody yesterday, a few hours ago actually, how a realization I've had as a paramedic is that I've spent the majority of my life waiting for instructions, waiting for someone to tell me what to do. Like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Like, whether it's at a job or whatever, and work like this, like there's nobody who's telling you like, okay, now you got to do this. Now you got to do that. You have to make a decision, and you have to, I mean, it could be a life or death situation. So I don't wish, like I'm happy with the life path that I've taken and where I am now in my mind, but I would just wonder what I'd be like if I had started work as a paramedic 20 years ago or 25 years ago, as a lot of these young people are at 18, 19, 20. I wonder what kind of human being I would be right now, because I would have lived a life of decisiveness rather than like, well, I'm a victim, or like this happened to me, rather than like, oh no, I made this choice and this was I did it confidently and I went this direction, you know what I mean? Rather than being kind of led through life by societal norms or just other people kind of like guiding me, I don't know.
I mean, you've bucked the trends so many times. Like you went and did your hoboing around the country, or hitchhiking, and you left the country. And I mean, those are some pretty big outside the societal norm decisions to make.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just off the cuff here. I guess the difference would be that they didn't affect anybody else but me. And I mean, not that I've never really had many decisions in life that I'm like, well, this is going to directly affect someone else. But I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But there is a difference, and I don't know what exactly it is. But I guess there were no consequences to those decisions, other than like I'm extending my homelessness, or I'm extending my just wandering nature until I can settle down with something else. But yeah, I guess there really weren't any consequences to that. So it was easy to buck the trend because I wasn't hurting anybody, or I wasn't causing any like serious damage to myself that I was aware of at the time anyway. But yeah, I don't know. It's something to think. I'll have to reflect, and I've got years to do it, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and waiting for instructions is going to come back, I think, later in our main content. But for now, should we fall in love?
I'm ready to fall in love, Skip. So the question is, if you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you're living now, and why?
Yeah, of course I would.
You drop his vegetarian bullshit right away.
Yeah, right away. Yeah, I'd eat people and all kind of. Yeah, if I found out I was going to die, it's so much harder now that I've got like kids and stuff, because old me would have been like, I'm Thelma and Louise and I'm going on, a journey, and I'm going to go see things I haven't seen before. But then there's also that push and pull with like, no, I want to not just see my kids, but I want my kids to have a memory of me and like get closure if I know that it's coming and stuff like that. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like the nice thing is that like we've done wills, and my wife is the one that actively makes money. Mine are just like passive from my companies for the most part. So like my family would be well set up. So in that sense, I feel pretty good about moving on and leaving them safe and not screwed in the wake, literally in the wake, um, as it were. Yeah, like I think I tend to be fairly frugal, and like we go on vacations and stuff, and I would definitely continue to go on vacations, but I think I'd give myself the year to be less frugal and just try and like have fun every weekend with my kids, even if it's like going to say escape rooms is, it's too expensive to do like every weekend, and I don't know if there's even enough escape rooms around to do that. But like I do a lot more like local traveling and escape rooms and things like that, and maybe join a rock climbing gym for a year with the kids so that they could do that. Things that like are kind of a stretch right now, but like if I only had 1 year and then they were going to save all the money that I would have done in eating food and clothes and, like I wouldn't feel bad about that. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd just try to make the most of the time with my family and enjoy it and have novelty and see as much as possible. I'd probably do some like bigger trips that we've put off, like India and Japan,
Yeah.
continually put off because they're just like far away and it's difficult. It's far away and expensive and so it's difficult. But yeah, I definitely get some of those things done and probably take a little time, just me and Jessica to go somewhere, even though that would take away from the time with the kids. But I don't know. I think it becomes a real precarious balance of all the things that you wish you had.
Yeah.
I definitely have thought before about like writing letters to my kids in case something happened to me. And obviously I would do something like that.
Yeah. So I made a joke in the beginning, but like, would you drop being a vegetarian? Like, let's say you found out in a year you're not going to be around. Would you drop vegetarian right now? It's
No,
okay.
I mean,
It's okay.
no. This is something that I have thought about trying like to do for like a month for literally for years, and it's always just like, oh. But so I'm giving it a shot, and we'll see. I don't know how I'll do. I don't know if I'll be successful. I'm gonna give it a shot, but
This is where you say, in your head, you say, I got this. It's just a month. I can do this for a month.
no, I feel like I do, but like right now, I was just you caught me eating rice right before we came in, and like I was just going through the house and eating everything that I could find that was like not meat because I'm just hungry. So what about you? If you found out you were gonna die in a year, how would you change your life, or would you? Or
Yeah. So my first thought right away, I haven't lived in Austin for over 15 years. And I think, I guess if I were to change anything at all, of course, like this is, if I could just make decisions without having to get approval from Jody or whatever, and not that I wouldn't do anything that would make her miserable also. But I guess I would move back to Texas, and not that I dislike Canada. I love Canada, and I'm super happy with everything that's happened for us here. But I guess I grew up with sisters. I had a loving mother, or I have a loving mother. I've only met my niece in person like 3 times. Two of them she doesn't remember because she was so young. So I guess I would want to be in a place of extreme like familial comfort. You know what I mean? And I'd want to just be, if I know I'm not going to, if I'm going to be gone, I'd be like, I'm going to spend as much time with the people that I've spent the majority of my time with,
right,
till the end. You know what I mean? But I also love Jody's family too. Like I've developed a closeness and for them, and I'm 100% accepted by them. It's wonderful, really, like to have that. And so yeah, I don't know. It would be a tough thing if I could like just divide my time maybe, or I don't know. I'd probably stop working, not because I don't enjoy being a paramedic, and as long as we could like eat still. I would want to have as much time, completely under my control as possible. I don't know that traveling would be high on my list. I haven't seen much of the Eastern world, really. I would love to. I mean, it's still, I would love to go to India. I would love to go to China. I would love to go to Japan. but it's not high on my list of like, I got to do this before I die sort of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, I guess my answer would be just I'd want to be around my blood family just for the comfort of it all. You know what I mean? And also, I mean, for all its changes, like Austin is like a home beacon for me. You know what I mean? I grew up there, and even though it's changed so much, it's still, you know, the bones are the same,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a familiar place, and yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a comfort there for me. And I guess if I know I'm dying, surely I'm going to be out of my mind, knowing that as well. So yeah, I'd want to be around someplace where I'd feel good about it. I'd also probably use it as a weapon.
You manipulative son of a bitch.
I'd say, hey, you know all those spiritual videos that I sent you, and you never respond, and you never, not you necessarily, but like everyone. Well, I'm dying in a year, so why don't we sit down together and let's or why don't you look at it in your own time and then get back to me, tell me what you think, because I'm dying in a year. I don't know if I mentioned that. So yeah, I would definitely use it to my advantage, to help. In order, I would do it to help people, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's my answer. I'd want to be close to people, and I would want to manipulate them better. I would use it for maximal manipulation.
For evil. Very nice.
For evil in the service of good. No, wait. For good in the service of evil. No, the first way.
Strike that. Reverse it.
All right, Skip. Well, I stumbled upon a concept that encapsulated in an article, and you found the source of that article, which is much better than the one I sent you, on a term called menodivorce. Have you heard of that before, or had you heard of that before?
I hadn't, and just so we wouldn't get confused with manosphere, how is menodivorce different from manosphere?
Well, let's take the suffix divorce, which is what it's a separation of things, and meno is just a shortening of menopause.
So not to do with men, then, not man-centric.
As a matter of fact, it does have something to do with men. However, it's not man-centric; it's lady-centric. And so the article is called "Welcome to the Menodivorce: Why Women Aren't Sweating Marriage in a Sea of Hot Flashes." And it's written by Laura. How do you say her last name?
Trujillo.
Yeah. I should know that, right? Laura Trujillo. So anyway, this article is all about divorce rates among people over 50 and how they've increased since 1990 until 2019 to they've increased at 1.4%, and it's over 50-year-olds. And they're associating that with perimenopause and menopause, which I found to be very fascinating because that kind of thing's on my mind. I've got mostly women in my life, my sisters, my mother, and obviously I'm a married person. And we're all of the age where that kind of thing could be starting to set in. Anyway, so it is on my mind because of this very thing, actually. And actually, when I read the article, I was like, oh, I'm going to send it to Skip. And I just never did. And then I was talking to Jody about it, and Jody knew all about this stuff. I'm like, oh, well... And we'll get into what it is. And I was like, just remember that I do carry my weight. I'm like, please don't divorce me. When you get tired of hearing me chewing, when my chewing annoys you, don't divorce me.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to remember that there's menopause, and then there's also perimenopause, which is outside of it's like before. Yeah.
It's kind of setting the stage.
Yeah. So that can go on for quite some time as well.
As can menopause. And I think it's important to point out that we are two men that I don't know about you, Skip, but I don't know a hell of a lot of menopause or perimenopause. All I know is that it's a changing of hormones for women of a certain age that are about to stop having regular menstruation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we can just kind of quote from the article, I think, there's decreased sex drive, fatigue, irritability. There are changes that are going on with hormones. And one of the things that it does say, if there are any women that don't know this, or men that want, some information, is that it's good to get help, and it's good to talk to the people in your life and your partner, and make sure that you've got support and possibly even hormone therapy, depending on the severity of changes and things like that. So these are all things that women have to go through. And a lot of times men in these situations will be like, she went crazy. And I think there's, it's sort of like, well, there is sort of a sea change, right? But that sea change isn't that the woman is going crazy a lot of times. A lot of the times it's like kids have moved out and things have gotten a little bit calmer and there's something happening to them that they have to focus on themselves. And they've also got a little bit more time and resources to pay attention to that. And suddenly they're like, oh, all this shit I've been doing, we were talking about before about like the weaponized incompetence, all the shit I've been doing, taking care of this guy.
Man keeping, weaponized incompetence, all from the past couple episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, you know what? This is a change of life. I'm getting older. I'm confronting my mortality. I have a little bit of time to think about it and fuck this situation. And they're taking off. And I think it can be hard even for good relationships because there are big changes going on. But those are things that I think solid relationships can weather because they're supportive. But in this case, it's not that women are going crazy. I think in a lot of cases, it sounds like they're waking up and
they're waking up to the position they've been in for, in some cases, decades, where they've been exactly like you were saying, they've been the ones taking care of the kids, they've been the ones managing everything, and in addition to having to be the emotional support for everyone else, and they don't want to do that anymore. Yeah, it's something interesting though. I was talking to Jody, and I'm going to tread lightly here because I don't want to sound flippant or sexist or anything, but I think it's fascinating that, like, I don't know if it's correlated, and there's probably research on this, but how a woman might put up with so much for so long during her childbearing years. And I wonder if that's a survival thing. Like, well, I have to do this because this is my partner. This is the person that I'm going to reproduce with. And I'm biologically driven to reproduce. So I'm going to put up with all this shit. And the moment the hormones change all that, and you're like, okay, I'm no longer going to be producing children anymore. Well, why am I putting up with this asshole? I don't need to do that anymore. And they just kind of, they become untethered from that. And they're like, I'm free.
Yeah, well, let me read you this quote from the article that I know that you were just kind of skimming through before because you had read a different article. But this is from Mandy Dixon, a therapist for women in midlife in the Dallas area. She says, our hormones give us this protection to accommodate other people. When those start shifting, there's a lot of built up resentment. Women who have been taking care of everyone and now they have to take care of themselves. So I think that kind of sums up some of what you were actually postulating about, is that, they have some like hormonal protection to get through this period. That's like, this is our biological imperative, right? It's to not only have kids, but like this is part of the evolutionary thing, is to also raise them successfully to where they can go on and carry on and propagate so that our genes keep going. So like they've weathered this. Biologically, they were built to protect and accommodate this up to a certain point. But when those kids are gone, so is the patience, I think.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I think it's actually pretty cool too that that's happening. I mean, it sucks to see like the end of a relationship for sure, but like for a person who's been like in a subordinate, I mean, there's no other way to describe that, but in a subordinate position in a relationship for the entirety of their adult lives, in some cases, to be free of that, man, like what a cool time. And for that to be a trend now, like, you know what? I don't, it doesn't need to be this way. Divorce is no longer taboo. Something to be ashamed of. Happens all the time. I mean, I'm of the mind that if you're going to be married, like, work it out. But like, I think a lot of people in general, they get married. I think they even say that in the article. They get married out of passion, over like companionship at first. And, you fall in love as young people do, and you rush into, I won't say everyone rushes into marriage, but like you fall in love and maybe,
but a lot of people do, not everybody.
But a lot of people do, yeah. And maybe before either person has reached a level of maturity where they're going to treat each other with respect, or in most cases, the men, I think. Yeah, so I just think it's an interesting time that we're in where a woman can make that decision and feel good about it and thrive. Yeah, I'm happy to see it. Happy to be living in this time, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's important to like some of the other context of the article is the quote that's, like the therapist hears, and it's one of the headings in the article that they hear all the time is, I love my husband, but I hate him. And I think, you had been talking a little bit earlier at some point about passion and things like that. And I don't think that always necessarily goes away, but it only carries you so far. And at some point, it's got to become, a partnership. And like I know this from like our oldest son. I always talk about my middle son, that's the oldest son, but the one that's not my adopted son, who's now out and in the Navy, and like we love him, but we were all tired of his shit and ready for him to go. And and I think you can have both of those things, like where I don't want to take care of him forever, and I can imagine feeling that way about a man that if I was a woman, if I had been taking care of a man like that for 20 years. And like this is stuff that I think people, women and men, long before menopause should probably pay attention to in advance if they want to like weather this, because one of the things that they talk about in the article is they links to another article about mental load, which is sort of what we were talking about with this weaponized incompetence, where it's like the mom, even if the husband's sometimes willing to help out, or she'll ask for help and he'll help for a little while and then stop, or she'll ask for help and he asks for a list of things, and it's like she's not just doing, like, even if she gives him that list, it's not like she's doing half the work and he's doing half the work. She's also doing the project planning for the family. And that's like, if you look for a job in project planning, that's a big job. That's a big paying good job, because it takes a lot of mental load, and carrying all that is something that's also leading to divorces when you're not in menopause. But you can certainly imagine if it hasn't up until that point, then it might be a time where you're like, well, fuck this, I'm done with this. Like this one's talking about like 73%, or oh no, it says moms reported being responsible for 73% of all cognitive household labor and 64% of all physical household labor. And so like that cognitive household labor is, like scheduling and childcare and other kind of organizational things. And I have to admit, like, that's something that Jess and I split to a degree, but some of those things have just kind of fallen on her.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the stuff with school and kids' activities, because originally we had two kids that weren't biologically mine, that I didn't have any legal say in. Like some of those things have fallen to her because of
By default,
sort of
yeah.
legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Some of them because the Czech Republic is pretty sexist. And like, even when we put our biological son into school and I put myself as the top person to contact, they would contact her anyway because she's the mom. And and now like there's like a certain inertia to some of these things, where like if it's scheduling kid stuff, it does fall on her. But I do try and pick up, like I do all the finances and stuff, and I do a lot of other organizational things. The vacations and stuff is usually all on me. I'm usually bugging her to be like, look at this, just okay it.
Yeah.
All I need you to do is say this is okay.
Well,
But yeah,
real quick
Yeah.
tangent here, or not tangent, deviation. I'm sorry, am I going to like totally disrupt your thought process? Just
no, go for it.
okay. So real quick then, feel free. This might just be too personal. You don't want to talk about it. And I definitely don't want to like create like a an issue between you and Jess. But like, you guys have kind of reversed sort of traditional roles right now, where she's working more than you, and you're doing more of the home stuff. Do you feel? I mean, are there any roles that you feel like you're picking up more of the load than she is, and you're like, well, this is like the full reversal. You know what I'm saying? Where not that she's neglecting you or neglecting her role as a parent, but like, I don't know how I can word that. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
So like, are there any like,
Like, are you doing more of the emotional work? Are you doing more of the housework? Are you
no,
doing?
no,
Okay,
definitely
okay,
not.
okay, okay.
Definitely not. Like, and the kids, she's still the mom. Like the kids still, I think I sent you the picture of the bracelets my son made for us.
Oh, I don't know.
And
I don't remember. I'd have to look
yeah, I
again.
think I did. And so like hers is like a full bracelet with all the beads and it says best mom. And mine is like half the size of my wrist. So there's like big bare spots on the elastic and it just says dad. And like it's a running joke in our family. Like I will go out and buy them like some ice cream and like set up a movie and like an activity and all this stuff. And I'll be like, I did all this stuff. And my kid will like look at Jess and be like, thanks, mom. So like there's just like that, it's like ingrained in
Yeah.
in our biology to some extent. And she's definitely like she's definitely the one. It really, well, it depends on the time, but like a lot of times she's more patient and sometimes I'm a lot more patient, but like probably on the balance she's the more patient one most of the time, as long as she's not trying to do something else. But yeah, like I think we split it pretty well. And there are some things like we have largely reversed the roles. And when we started, it wasn't like that. Like I made pretty good money when we were starting, but her career started taking off and it just made more sense to put the weight behind her than behind me because she had more opportunity to grow and carry us. But there are things that I do that are still like I still do all the finances. Like in some ways, it's a very traditional like that. Like I have access to all the accounts and I do the budget and stuff like that, which is something that we like pick on tradwives about and things like that. Whereas if something happened to me, like she's like, I don't know how to pay bills, and I'm like, yes, you do. You know how to pay bills. You have access to all the accounts. So like she's set up for all these things. But there's a certain amount of what shall we say, weaponized incompetence. No, she.
Well, that's what
No,
I'm asking. Yeah.
no, it's not. It's not weaponized incompetence because she could do it if she needed to, but this is her deal. And she's like, I don't know how to do it, and I'm like, you really do, but don't worry about it. Like, it's not a thing where you're forcing me to do it. This is like our deal, and I like having an eye on this because this is sort of like how I help steer the family, and I'm in charge of our investing and things like that. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's that question kind of pops up a lot, not a lot, but every now and then with, because you left an impression on me when this is way in the early episodes, because we're on episode 20 now.
Yeah.
But when you had said something about, I don't know, you were complaining to Jess about how like I didn't mean for this to be forever, and it really stuck in my head because I feel like that's what a lot of women go through. They're like, I didn't realize that I was going to be like domesticated. And from now on, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, every now and then these topics will make me wonder, like, oh, I wonder how Skip is faring in this sort of situation. If like the roles have changed or the roles have really reversed completely, or if it's still sort of a balance, a traditional balance between financial provider and then a home caretaker. Okay, but yeah, what I did want to do is circle back to the article that we were discussing because it had popped in my head earlier. And this is just purely just a wonder because who knows, but like, I wonder how many men sort of sniff out this like coming separation. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I've been a shit this whole time. She's increasingly like pissed off at me. Or even before all that, they just kind of like destroy the woman. They destroy her confidence. They are constantly critical. I mean, there's a whole bag of psychology behind the men for that too. But I wonder if that's all just to keep the woman from ever leaving. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to leave because no one's ever going to love you, or you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do that, you're stupid, whatever. I wonder how much of that criticism and just ugliness is kind of designed, ironically, to keep the spouse exactly where she's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I feel like you're talking about what we'd say in statistics. There's a couple different buckets there, right? So like whether it's I don't know, whether it's calculated or just innate to some douchebags. I think there are people that break people down in order to manipulate them and have control And I think for some people it's a calculated thing, and for some people that's just the way they act to everybody.
Yeah.
And
Not to everybody.
well,
Yeah,
to a lot of people. Yeah.
to a lot of females is I
Yeah.
think like I said, like half the shit that I had said in my past when I was a little less, you know, sensitive to women, I wouldn't have, like I said before, I wouldn't have said to a man. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
just,
Yeah.
and it was innate. It wasn't calculated. It was just something that was it just set into my brain. Like, oh yeah, this is how
Right.
you talk to women, and this is how you talk to men. So anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I feel like some men do talk that way to men as well, of course. But I also think it's really kind of just targeted at women.
I definitely think it's more prevalent, to women for sure. But then there's also just like, I think there's another bucket of men that kind of know they're getting the better end of the stick and then fight back against it. There's also men for whom, there's that old adage of like, if you have privilege, equality feels like oppression. So like men that have been privileged this long time and then maybe a woman's asking for things, maybe not even to be equal, but to be closer to equal or closer to reciprocal. And they're like, what the hell? This is not the status quo. This is
Yeah.
not the way things are.
Yeah.
And it feels to them like something terrible is happening to them when it's really, no, you've been kind of a shit this whole time. And it's just kind of catching up to you, and you're not really owning it or recognizing it. And I think there's that describes a great number of things in society, but in this situation, I think it applies as well.
So lesson to all you dudes out there: your lady might not put up with your shit for forever.
And as with everything that we talk about, it's all about like conversation and talking and fostering a healthy relationship, which is what we're trying to do here.
This is what we're trying to do.
Trying to teach men how to talk and have positive relationships.
Unfortunately, I think have more women listening than men, but I don't know.
Probably.
Maybe one day, maybe one day that'll change.
Well, maybe at least the women have a good example of some of what men are capable of and won't put up with the shit from other guys.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Well, and I'm also okay with like admitting like, oh yeah, I knew this about myself, or I knew that I was doing this and continue doing it anyway. I mean, I guess there's really no instances of that, but I mean, just to get into the mind of a man, I think it's pretty useful as well. And they can,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's educational is what I'm trying to say.
It's always a little bit biting when you read something and you're like, oh, that does describe me a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one really like stuck in my head for a bit with the whole weaponized incompetence. I don't like the term weaponized incompetence, so I prefer the original term, which is where it stemmed from, which was strategic incompetence, because I don't feel like I've ever weaponized it, but I guess that's what it is. But I've strategically been stupid at times, and that was another little eye-opening article for me. I'm like, oh crap, that's another one that I got to work on.
It's a journey of improvement.
It is. And unfortunately, I'm never perfect. I'm going to always have to be improving, which is good, otherwise you're dead.
Carlos, so a long time ago, I asked you what your best job you ever had was. What was the weirdest job you've ever had?
Weirdest job? What was the weirdest job I've ever had?
Just because both of us are guys that have had a lot of varied jobs.
So as far as weirdest jobs, I can't think of anything that just jumps out right away as being weird. I can tell you a terrible job, which is negative, but either way, it's funny how negative it was. I had just graduated college with my bachelor's, and I had this mind of like, well, now I have a university degree, I should be able to get a job, right? And I couldn't get a job. It was like right at the housing crisis in 2008, and I couldn't find work. So I was still tutoring at the college that I was at that I loved. And then I got I guess it was a full-time job at a call center. And the call center was it was for General Motors, and it was outsourced by some like Indian company that is like ubiquitous in the call center world. And they kind of lured you in with like opportunity. I'm like, well, this sounds like it's promising. Anyway, it was just a call center. I didn't even know what it was exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply for this. And I'm like, oh, it's a call center job. and I hated it. I don't know if you ever done call center work, but it's the worst.
No, I haven't because I knew it was the worst.
Well, this was inbound stuff, so I wasn't making like cold calls to people that were just going to hang up on me, but it was inbound stuff for people who had like mostly bought a car or they were inquiring about one or whatever. I hated it. I hated they were recording the calls constantly. They would listen in sometimes, and you had to be like available for a certain period of time. And the moment you hang up, like you might get another call right away. And yeah, I hated it. I mean, I enjoyed the people I was working with. They were all cool, but like it was a shitty job. And like you're tethered to the phone. Like I'd have I was the only one. There's like an open concept place where you had like the wavy desk, and there's somebody sitting kind of like not directly in front of you, but just off to the side. And then there's someone sitting next to you. And I was the only one of the whole place that in between calls, I was just like pacing. I was standing and I was pacing at my little station. Or I'd be standing. I always compared it to like I'd be standing at the end of the little curly cord that connected me to my phone and my headset. I'd be standing at the end of it like a dog at the end of a leash that just was trying to get as far away from like the grounding point as possible, and I would just be there like with the tension on my headset, wishing I could like break free. It was the worst. Yeah, and I think part of it was I hated it so much because like you'd have really shitty people calling in. They'd be rude to you. They'd call you stupid, or you'd have people with mental problems calling a lot, and you couldn't say anything. Like you couldn't defend yourself. You'd get fired easily, and you just had to put up with a lot of shit. And also on top of that, I just graduated college, and I'm like, I'm better than this job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I had that chip on my shoulder. Like they should be putting me on emails. I'm more articulate. I can write a great email and I don't have to talk to anybody. Like I'd probably still be working there if they'd put me on emails. But yeah, I really, really hated that job. So I'm just going to turn this around and ask you the same question. What's the weirdest job you've ever had?
Oh, okay. So man, it's hard to pick because I really had some weird ones. I was a high-rise window washer for one day because I am afraid of heights. And, I thought like, you'd see on like sitcoms, where they've got the big scaffolding set up where it's like a walkway, like a catwalk kind of thing that gets lowered down the building.
No, they just dangle you though, right?
They just dangle you. You just tie a rope onto something on the roof that's not even designed for that. You're like, oh, this pipe looks pretty sturdy. And it was like, I was being trained by this guy. It was like his company. And he was like in his 70s. And he's like showing me how to do this. And he's, tying it on a pipe on the roof and like lowering himself over the side of a building through bird shit, And I'm like, I'm terrified. And I see this thing immediately. It's like you're like tied to a plank of wood and seat belted into it and then it's just a rope and like there's a hook for the bucket and like it's crazy sauce. And I'm terrified. And even then, like this 70-year-old guy's like crawling off the side of the roof and I'm like, should I be doing this? And he's like, no, it's fine. And I was like, that was it. It was one day I was gone.
Did you actually go over? Did you go over the edge?
No, I never went over the edge. I don't know if I could even do it, man. Like just thinking about it, my hands start to sweat. Just thinking about being up on the roof. So that was definitely one. I worked in a bird lab, which we had talked earlier about slaughtering chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked in this bird lab and we were studying different brackishness of waters, which is like different salinity, to see kind of like the Great Basin in the West. There's birds that live there, and through pollution and man-made things, it's changing the salinity of the water. And we were doing a study to see like how birds were affected by it. And so like we'd watch all these little birds and they'd be in, some different fake ponds areas. And we'd like every once in a while get them out and we'd like poke them and take some blood. And you had to do it like you had to get in, grab the bird, poke the bird, get the blood like super fast because that started to change the chemistry of their blood because they'd get nervous or afraid or something like that. So you have to try and like do all this stuff before they could react to it. And we were just like watching, and it was real boring. I'd get there at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I just started college. And so like we'd be out drinking till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd get 3 hours of sleep and come in. And you're sitting there and you're like making tallies, like it's standing, it's preening, it's eating, and you're just making tallies every 30 seconds of like what it's doing. And eventually the experiment sort of ended, and they like do more in-depth studies of these birds and the effects, but that involves killing them. And like the fastest way to do it is to just like grab them and cut their heads off with scissors.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do that,
Yeah.
but I was there, and like, you're not supposed to name the birds or get attached, and they have like little color bands on their legs to differentiate them. But one of them was blue, orange, blue, so he became Bob. And and like we got one day, like somebody killed Bob, and there was like a couple weeks more of the study, and they were going to have more rounds. And I called my friend who had got me the job, and I was like, I can't go back in. And it's like calling this girlfriend from high school that had got me this job there. And I was like, everything's dying. I was working as a maintenance man at the place that I lived, and I was killing the weeds and like doing like rat traps. I was like, everything's dying. I can't do it. So yeah. So that was a weird job, like taking bird blood. And
That is a legit weird job, I think.
yeah. And I was a manager of Victoria's Secret, which is not weird except for being a man.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
that-
you've had a broader range of things. I've done a lot of retail and food stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing out of the ordinary. But yeah, those are interesting jobs. They're interesting at the very least.
Yeah. No, I've definitely, and I've had more weird ones, but those are like the ones that stand out as the weirdest one. I think for a long time, Victoria's Secret would always get me a call back for an interview because people would be wanting to hear more about a man working at Victoria's Secret.
That is quite the flex. Yeah, when they're like, yeah, not only did he work here, I'm going to give him a sterling reference too.
Yeah.
Well, what's bringing you joy this week, man? You got anything to report?
I do, and I even wrote things down. I, in fact, have two things.
Okay.
So one is that my kids went back to school yesterday, and that's a wonderful time in every parent's life. Even during the holidays, when winter holidays come up, Christmas break or whatever, there's the Christmas song, and Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. And like the kids are offended at how boisterously Jess and I sing that line.
That's funny.
So that's a joy. And also I have a plank of wood.
Hey.
Plank of wood. I'm not building anything, but I am getting to do some woodwork. I'm trying to do like a lithograph, like a woodcut, so that I can print. And I'm getting to work with wood and carve, and it's nice. It's a start. It's a start.
Is this under any sort of guidance, or you're just kind of whittling away at it, literally?
I signed up for some like online recorded courses that I could watch, and like the big bar is that it's so expensive to get like tools and and things like that. But I found like the cheapest inroad, and so I'm carving a little block of wood.
There's a really cool, or there used to be anyway, really cool like art store, like a legit art store. I want to say it's by the Globe in Prague.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm talking about?
There was one next door to the Globe, and it's gone.
Oh, too bad.
I lived across the street from the Globe for years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was really cool. And I had bought wood carving tools there. And it was just like a little kit. It was I don't recall anymore, but it was fairly cheap because I was very cheap back then as well.
Yeah.
So you actually got like tools for it, or what do you got?
I got these guys. These are gouges.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And they're for just like gouging wood. The course that I am taking is on making woodcut portraits, but like it's a course for portraits, but using the same techniques, you could do lots of different kinds of pictures. So I'm kind of taking that as an inspiration and jumping off and doing some other things.
That's cool, man. That makes me a little jelly. That's something I wanted to do too. I might just get like a guy I worked with the other night or day. He's really artsy as well, and he was showing me his drawing pad, and he had all these like stamps. I'm like, oh, you did like a lithograph. He's like, no, I bought a bunch of erasers from the dollar store. I just carved the erasers, and he made them like his own stamps. Like, that's a really good idea.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
smart. Yeah.
Well, cool,
Fun.
man. I guess a quick description of those things, your little wood carving tools.
They're like little just wood, almost like a pen, but where the end would be, it's sort of like more like it can be like a scalpel or like a little rounded end, like a little shovel end or something like that.
Or like to scoop out. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of different little shapes to cut into wood, to gouge into wood in different ways.
Yeah.
And then I also got a course on wood chip carving, which is like more like decorative. And I'm waiting for those knives a different set of knives to arrive from America.
Do you have like a clamp that you can clamp that piece of wood down to like your table? And
not yet.
Yeah.
No.
You can. They're pretty cheap at the hardware store. You just like those big tension ones.
Yeah. Yeah, we only really have our like kitchen table, and I don't want to mess up our kitchen table.
Yeah,
okay. And I have to. But I also found finally a wood shop. I don't know whether it just opened or changed its hours or whatever, but 4 nights a week there's a wood shop that you can pay an hourly fee to go to. So I'm gonna go check that out.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, you definitely check that out.
I'm moving on it.
Hey, you're doing it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad, man. I was never skeptical. I was just wondering when you were going to do it.
So cool. What's bringing you joy this week?
My joy is not as interesting as yours, but so Jody had listened to an audiobook and like maybe a year ago, and she was always bugging me to listen to it. I should listen to it. I'm like, I don't want to listen to a book. I'm sure I have listened to audiobooks before, but they weren't fiction ever. They were always like nonfiction in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, and it was a sci-fi, and she doesn't read or listen to sci-fi. But she was recommending this book. It's by Andy Weir. You probably heard of it. It's called Project Hail Mary, and they're making.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, they're making a movie of it now. Another guy, Ryan Gosling reference. He's going to be the star of it, which I think he'd be a good choice actually. Now that
Ryan Gosling is the new Pee Wee Herman.
He's the new Pee Wee. Yeah, we'll do a whole episode on him. So she was bugging me to do it and to listen to it, and I've never been interested in listening to an audio fiction book, but she was going on and on about it. So finally, we have a shared Audible account. So finally, I started listening to it over a month ago. Like I just did when I was cutting the grass, or when I was just doing kind of tasks around the house. And now I'm like, it's all I'm thinking about. Like I just want to go back and listen to this book. It is so good. It is so good. And part of it is the guy who's reading. His name's Ray Porter. I don't know if he's an actor. I don't know anything about the guy, but he's a fantastic voice actor. Right. And highly recommend the book. I've been telling Jody I've been wanting to recommend it to you for a while now. I'm assuming I would like the book more, like reading the actual book, but I'm enjoying listening to it a lot. In the same way that every time I've ever read like a play, I've always enjoyed, or a screenplay even, I've always enjoyed reading the screenplay / play as opposed to watching it, because I don't know, it just like plays out in my brain differently than I would see in a more enjoyable way than I would watching it. But anyway, the book's called Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Same guy that wrote The Martian, which they also made a movie into.
Yeah.
Really good book, great science, super fun. It's been like a real joy. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, man, this is great. I'm really enjoying this book.
Cool. I'll have to put it on my list. Right now I'm reading The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test and Moby Dick.
Okay, so, Moby Dick, man. I had started that years ago, but I loved it, but I stopped reading it for whatever reason.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's defying what my expectations were.
It's beautifully written. The language is beautiful.
And it's funny. It's like, it's funny. I was not expecting Moby Dick to be funny.
It is funny.
So I'm really enjoying that. Yeah. So I'll have to put that on my list. And I looked up Ray Porter for you. He was the voice of Darkseid in the DC movies.
Okay. So
yeah, he is an
interesting.
Actor.
I'll have to Google and see what he looks like. Maybe I'll even recognize him. But anyway, he's a fantastic voice actor. So I guess that's why he was Darkseid.
Guess so.
In Superman versus Batman, or no? Which one was that? Or was
one of those ones.
Was it animated?
Justice League.
I wonder if it was animated.
League,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Anyway,
no. I think it was the Snyderverse one.
Okay. Yeah, and that was
Justice
Superman
League.
versus Batman, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should stop right there with this comic book talk.
Yeah. That's what the new name for the show is going to be like. Stop that comic book talk.
Thanks for joining us. New podcast every Monday. And if any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com, Instagram, or Facebook. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast, or recommend us to a friend. We hope you'll come back.
Ciao.